you have mentioned that you have had an opportunity or two over the years to return to Wisconsin. So I thought this would be a good John Wisconsin. What's that about? You could have been back here instead of ESPN. Take
John
us down
Wisconsin,
the path.
or is it Job Wisconsin? It's one of those. I don't know. So early on, I applied for a producer job. That was really right out of school.
Yeah.
And that did not, nothing. I didn't get a bite on that. But years later, I applied for the job at WBAY for the sports director job. I came up, I interviewed.
That's here in Green Bay, by the way.
Yep. Told my folks that I'm going to go up and interview at Channel 2. So they were all excited, stayed at the house, went over, did it, and they didn't hire me. They hired Chris Roth, who is still there, right? So that's 20 some odd years that Chris has been there doing a great job. He was in Milwaukee. So I think they went, this guy knows a lot about the Packers and had connections. And I think, clearly it's a decent hire because the retention level's really, really good. And Chris is really good at his job, right? It's hard to, it's really, there's some good sportscasters in Green Bay right now with Chris and Burke, those guys that have been there and know the place so well, Burke Griffin. But so there was that one. Then I came back and my contract was going to be up in Phoenix and I was not going to get renewed. So I don't know if you know the terminology of I'm not going to get renewed, but that means you're going to get fired.
You're
right?
done.
Your contract's not renewed, right? It sounds cool, like mutual parting. But if, in fact, you would like to come to work that day and they say you don't have to come to work today, that to me is you're fired. So I was kind of on the road to the fellow that was news director and did not like any of us that did sports. So it's funny because everybody's going on him and really successful outside of this place. We're like, okay, we were validated. The guy was terrible. So I'd seen two other guys go out the door and I knew I was the next guy. And I applied at WGBA, which is Channel 6 in Green Bay. And I went up, Channel 26, and went up and interviewed, and I got offered that job. And at the same time, I got offered a job from CNN in Atlanta. I had gone to interview there. Previously, like 3 or 4 months before, I had interviewed at ESPN. 3 or 4 months. So now I have WGBA, Channel 26 on the line, and I have CNN, and I've got to decide what I want to do. This time when I came in, I did not tell my folks I was interviewing for the job, and I stayed at a hotel, and they had no idea.
Jeez.
Then I called and told them, hey, I got offered a job. So very hopeful, and I'm on a ski trip with a high school friend of mine from Southwest. And I've got to make the decision of where I'm going to go. And so I'm thinking, you know what? The next job I get will be easier if CNN is on my resume and not Channel 26. No offense to them, but, here it is. And so I'm supposed to call my agent this morning at the appointed hour, and I call him. And I said, Greg, much to the dismay, I will disappoint my parents. I'm going to go to CNN. He goes, no, you're not. I said, what was that? He goes, I called ESPN back, told them they were about to lose you to CNN, and they've offered you a contract. And so they came to this agent who eventually he and I parted ways, but he made one last phone call and made all the difference with those. None of that, all that though, pales to when I applied for a job in Milwaukee and John Anderson was there. The old Packer football, John Anderson's working there, who, by the way, is my bucket list guy on this show. So we got to get John Anderson on. And the guy, they call me. And they said, hey, we're thinking about bringing you in. We kind of like what you've got here. I was in Tulsa at the time still, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he said, but John Anderson, we have a John Anderson. And would you consider changing your name? And I thought I was being really funny. And I said, sure. How about Bart Starr? Which I thought was uproariously funny. And I didn't even get a move from this guy at the end of the line. I'm like, nothing. Didn't think it was funny. Maybe he didn't know who Bart Starr was. But I thought, okay, that first off, it went over like a lead balloon. And clearly, even if I'm there, this isn't going to work. And we hung up and I never heard back from them.
No way.
So that was the last I had it. So, yeah, maybe I should have said, Dave Robinson, or I don't know, somebody else, Donnie Anderson, I could be the Golden Palomino. But when I told him, sure, how about Bart Starr? Nothing.
Jeez.
Which is why you and I are doing this from thousands of miles apart, and you're in the basement and I am in my attic.
That's funny.
in Connecticut.
Hey,
So,
I'm kind of happy how it all panned out. To be completely honest, I'm digging this. This is a lot of fun.
Right? Overnight success. Here we are 20 some odd years later. In my case, like 30 years later, it worked out just fine. Yeah.
That's cool. All's well that ends well.